It was ugly in there. That is how a 12-year-old girl described the conditions inside the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Station in Clint, Texas. She and her 6-year-old sister were held for about 2 weeks there after being separated from their aunt. She told a lawyer who will join us in a moment, a partner of the lawyer who will join us in a moment, that the children were not allowed to bathe or play, and some were locked away when they cried for their parents. Here are portions of the video made by one of the girls' lawyers and obtained and released by the Associated Press.
No le daban poca comida, unos niños que no se bañaban, no los bañaban, los trataban mal.
¿Y habían muchos niños ahí?
Sí, ahí por los niños, y los trataban mal, no se bañaban, le daban poca comida, unos niños llorando.
¿Y ahí gritaron a veces los oficiales?
Sí, hay unos niños, como la edad de mi hermana, lloraban por la mamá y el papá, lloraban por la tía, y le hacían falta.
And she says the children were forced to sleep on the floor and were not given the medical care that they needed.
¿Y dónde dormían? ¿Dormían en camas?
Dormían en el puro piso.
Oh, ¿les dieron cobijas o no?
Solo una cobija los daba.
¿Y era suficiente para que pudieran aguantar el frío?
No, unos niños enfermos, que allí les decían que lo llevaran al hospital, pero no lo llevaban.
¿Algo más que te acuerdas del centro de detención que te hizo tener miedo o sentir incómoda?
Me iba a ir, pero los trataban, la forma, unos niños no dormían casi. Feo era allí.
Sí, qué bueno que están ahora con.
Joining our discussion now is Taylor Levy, an immigration attorney in El Paso, Texas, who helped reunite that 12-year-old girl and her sister with their mother here in the United States. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you helping us. Tell us about how you got into the legal position of representing this little girl and how long it took for you to get her reunited with her mother.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm an attorney here in El Paso, Texas. I was contacted by the girl's other attorney, Allison, who works for the Advocates for Human Rights up in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota. She contacted me because she knew that I did work on the border. She contacted me through some friends, and that was during the weekend. And she said that Border Patrol had called the mother and told them that since the girls kept getting hospitalized and they kept bouncing back to the hospital, but that they would be willing to release the girls to the mother if she flew down from Minnesota. So she kind of dropped everything, jumped on a plane, and arrived on Sunday, June 2nd. And then we worked a lot on June 2nd and on June 3rd to get her reunited.
And their mother has been in the United States for a few years at this point. They were living with their aunt. And are the girl's mother, is she undocumented at this point?
The girl's mother is an asylum seeker. She had to flee their home country, fleeing extreme domestic violence about 4 years ago because the abuser said he was going to kill her and beat her repeatedly. And at that time, he was not hurting the girls. So she was able to flee successfully, seeking asylum here in the United States. And the girls were then later targeted, and that's why the aunt had to make the decision to bring them to the United States as well, because they weren't safe anywhere in their home country.
Let's listen to what Congressman Joaquin Castro said today after visiting that facility.
When we went into the cell, it was clear that the water was not running. There was a toilet, but there was no running water for people to drink. In fact, one of the women said that she was told by an agent to drink water out of the toilet. These are the conditions that have been created by the Trump administration.
Were you surprised by any of those descriptions inside?
I was absolutely not described by any of those conditions that were explained either in that clip or in the rest of the clips that we've heard today from the Congresspeople.
I want to show some video that Congressman Castro took while he was inside the facility. They were not supposed to use their cameras in any way, but Congressman Castro managed to get his on. There's a little bit of background sound that you can hear from that video. This shows the way some of the adults are being kept there. And we also have other members of Congress who were in there today, and you met with some of them after the fact, and some of them had a very emotional reaction to what they saw. Tell us about that.
I did. After the tours, I was able to meet with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and also Presley. We were able to meet. They came and toured one of the Annunciation House sites of hospitality along with a few other activist groups. We met and we spoke to them for a couple hours. They were clearly very emotional and affected by what they had seen. I think one of the biggest things that we were trying to tell them about what they had seen, it was so much better than it would have been had they not known that there was a congressional visit. The aunt of these little girls, for example, we've been trying to get her out of those conditions for over 35 days, and she was just surprise transferred to an ICE facility in Arizona on Sunday. And we know that those cells that were shown in that video that Joaquin Castro leaked, those are much fewer people than are normally held in those cells. They normally don't have blankets like that. That was actually very surprising.
Attorney Taylor Levy, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.